with another Meme Spirits episode. Like always, we have the little air still ready to go, but I also have a toaster because today we're distilling Pop-Tarts. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, this is Distillate, and we're distilling Pop-Tarts because I'm a horrible person. I actually told the Patreons I'd do this like before Christmas. I think it was a request. I actually don't remember. All I know is I was supposed to distill Pop-Tarts. I haven't distilled Pop-Tarts. I need to remedy that. No more talking. Let's get stuck in. All right. Let's get some vodka into the little still. That was 600 mils purely because that's exactly how much vodka I had left. Or I've got none left now, so I really need to make more vodka. And, of course, let's get some Pop-Tart action going on. I'll be real with you. I think I've eaten like one Pop-Tart in my entire life. I'll be honest, I kind of don't get it. Like the whole sweet pastries for breakfast thing is just not my jam. I don't know how to use our own toaster. Let's get that rolling. But you know, I'm not here to judge. If you're into eating dessert for breakfast, that's cool. So we had planned on doing some of the more traditional, that's weird to me, Pop-Tart flavors for this. But the store that is just down the road, this is the only flavor they had. And to be honest, it's kind of crazy that they have Pop-Tarts at all here in New Zealand. So we are rolling with frosted s'mores. And I'll be real, team, I despise the flavor and smell of burnt sugar that inevitably seems to come along with toasted Pop-Tarts, frosted Pop-Tarts. I'm not even entirely sure why I'm toasting them. I don't think it's going to change the flavor. I guess it could change the flavor of the pastry a little bit, you know, like toast it up. So let's get the second batch toasting away. And we can start dropping this one in here. I feel like I should taste this because I don't know Pop-Tarts well enough to really know what, you know, when the spirit comes out the other end, I don't really know if it's going to be Pop-Tarts or not. I mean, it's kind of s'more-y, I guess. Well, let's get this one off. I don't have a whole lot of hope for a whole lot of flavor coming through on this one, team. I'll be honest with you. The chocolate flavor, I think, will come through a little bit. I think the kind of shortbready, like pie crust flavor might come through a little bit. But in my experience, marshmallow is not something that makes it through distillation too well in terms of flavor. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. And how do I know that? Because I've done this sort of thing in the past. There is a point to meme spirits. All right, we shall switch power over to the still from the toaster. Get that warming up. Give it a little stir. And especially because I'm dubious that much flavor is going to come through at all on this, I'm going to get this up to about 45, 50 degrees Celsius and let it sit for an hour, just so the alcohol can kind of really pull out as much of that flavor as possible. So it has a better chance of making it through distillation. I'll come back when the still's heated up and we're getting first drips. There we have it, team. Drips coming off the still at the very beginning. Oh, actually, wow. There's more Pop-Tarty aroma in that than I was expecting. I'll be real with you. Anyway, we'll collect a teeny tiny bit off the top like we normally do. I think that'll probably about do it. Only about 10, 15 mils, to be honest. And start collecting into the larger vessel. So I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that I'm getting any flavor at all right now. I was expecting more of just that kind of, like that pie crust sort of pastry near the middle to the bottom end. But it's already, but there is a definite like sweet flavor to it that I would never, well, I know it's not in the vodka, right? Like I've used this vodka a bunch. I know it pretty well. There's something different about this that isn't just the vodka. It's hard to kind of put my finger on it though, because it's just kind of a generic, like, background confectionery sort of flavor. Bit strange. Kind of like chocolate icing that doesn't taste chocolatey, if that makes sense. Just sort of a real basic icing with a little bit of cocoa powder in it, maybe. As I'm sitting here and tasting it, like, really quickly that flavor's developing and getting deeper and darker. Definitely not chocolate, definitely not coffee, but it's kind of heading in that direction. Like a deeply caramelized sugar. Almost burnt, but not quite sugar. Like, it's still pleasant. It could be the icing on the Pop-Tarts in the toaster, that kind of burnt sugar smell I was saying I don't like with Pop-Tarts. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so we're now 150-ish mils into the run. Probably slightly over a third of the way into the run. And that kind of sweet confectionery sugar aspect is completely faded away now. We're still left with the darker sugar characteristic, but it is heading much more towards just straight cocoa, interestingly enough. Not chocolate, and not like almost no caramel now, just kind of like powdery cocoa or drinking chocolate powder, I guess. Maybe a little bit sweeter than cocoa. But we're also starting to see a little bit of, it almost tastes like whiskey. Like, this almost tastes like a white whiskey coming off the still. And I have to imagine that is that the pastry, the crust, whatever you call it on a Pop-Tart, starting to show up. And I mean, it's showing up around about when I thought it would pop up. The thing that I'm interested to see here on in is which way this goes. Does it start tasting almost like a specialty malt? Because it's quite, I mean, it was already toasted, and then we put it in the toaster as well. Does it head towards kind of whiskey tails area real quick and get kind of funky and like wet dog, wet cardboard? I don't know. So we're up past 200 mils now, and the flavor hasn't changed a whole lot since I last talked to you, like, if at any. But what is really weird is after you swallow, it's like all of my senses are overwhelmed. Like, I just walked into the kitchen and I'm blind baking a pie crust. It's kind of crazy. Like, it's like a halfway between an aroma and a taste. I mean, I know it's an aroma. I can't taste it. I'm smelling it. But my mind's making me think it's kind of a taste. But it pops up after, you know, like 10, 20 seconds after you kind of swallow. It's really bizarre and quite intense. And that flavor aroma thing is almost identical, at least in terms of my memory, to what the Pop-Tart pastry tasted like. So that's kind of cool. That's interesting, actually. So, an interesting turn of events. Right around 300 mils, a little bit under, more like 280. And I can actually almost, this is the closest I've ever been to tasting chocolate coming off a still. I've tried a bunch of different chocolate products in the past. I have tried to use chocolate malt and caramel malt and stuff to get an actual like milk chocolate flavor. And it always kind of falls flat and either goes coffee, cocoa, or kind of caramel. This is the closest I've ever been, which is really freaking interesting. It's not strong, not overwhelmingly so, but it is there, which makes me, you know what? Hold on. I was going to say, it makes me want to know what Pop-Tarts are using for their chocolatiness. You know what? I think we'll turn that off, eh? I think it's come to the end of its run. It's tasting a little bit like nothing, and the ABV is dropping real quick. But let's scan these ingredients and look for anything that looks like chocolate, or could taste like chocolate. Molasses, cocoa, processed with alkali. Interesting. Milk chocolate makes sense. Cocoa, sugar, milk, and cocoa butter and chocolate. Interesting. So what I haven't used yet is cocoa nibs. I don't know. I'm going to have a think about that because, like I said, this really is the closest I've ever gotten to an actual chocolate flavor. Probably, you know what? Tootsie Rolls were close, but once again, they were kind of that chocolate nougat, chocolate caramel kind of thing going on. Anyway, give it a little stir and we can have a taste. Interesting. Okay, so those kind of delicate, sweet, confectionery sugar, like generic icing flavors that I was getting right up at the top, completely dominated on the aroma. I don't get any of that now. What I'm getting heaps of is that pie crust flavor. So let's try and do this a little bit different for different people. When I say pie crust, I mean like fruit pie, like a baked and honestly almost burnt pie crust, like a little bit too dark. For those of you that aren't in America and pies are supposed to be savory and meaty, not that kind of pie crust. More like shortbread, I'd say, like slightly overcooked shortbread. And thankfully, I can also smell a decent amount of that chocolatey-ness. Some of the, like heading towards the milk chocolate that I was getting right at the end, but more of that kind of like cocoa powder, almost like carameltery chocolate, I guess. Just for a second there, I thought I could taste marshmallow, but I think I'm being hopeful. I didn't really get marshmallow at any point during the run. Not surprised because it almost like it just doesn't seem to show up for me. Let me have another go at that. Yeah, the most dominant flavor by far is the pie crust. The chocolate comes in afterwards, and then it kind of gets a little bit ruined because then the chocolate gets stripped out. I can taste the potato vodka flavor coming through at the end. If this was a totally neutral, totally clean vodka, that might linger for a little bit more. But I think it's just not an overly robust flavor. Like the aroma of it is way better. Funny, I'm also getting popcorn vibes off it now as well. Like when you cook popcorn at home in a pot with oil in the bottom and the oil gets a little bit too hot maybe. It doesn't smell like movie popcorn at all. It smells like homemade popcorn. Interesting. Anyway, so I'll be real with you, team. If you gave this to me, there's no way I could possibly tell you it's a Pop-Tart. Partially because like the full experience of the Pop-Tart didn't come through in terms of flavor, and partially because I just don't know Pop-Tarts that well. Not really my thing. So in some senses, it's kind of a failure. But two takeaways from this that I'm very interested in. Number one is I have a few leads now in terms of trying to recreate a chocolate flavor in a distilled spirit. That could be fun. I'm going to have a look through that ingredient list and have a play with that. Two, the one that I'm probably more excited about is the pie crust flavor coming through so well. And this one to me is a little bit kind of overcooked. I'd be interested to see if I could make one more like a key lime pie, kind of pie crust base. And now that I say that, man, last time I was in Prescott, Arizona, I had an amazing key lime pie mead from Superstition Meadery, and it straight up tasted like key lime pie. So I wonder if maybe this is the inspiration I need now that I know that pie crust flavor can come through in distillation. Maybe this is the inspiration I need to like try and make a key lime pie spirit. How would I go about that? I don't know. maybe distill the pie crust and then almost do like a limoncello but with lime. Maybe add a little bit of dairy and sweetening in there as well. I don't know. I'll have to have a think about that. But I do think it's worth knowing that that flavor comes through, and it might be worth chasing for a different situation. Anyway, I've now successfully distilled a Pop-Tart. There you go. I'll catch you next time, guys. Keep chasing the craft. See ya.